They say walls have ears, but in the federal correctional system, silence is often the loudest message of all. For years, Josh Duggar was the focal point of a family's downfall, the eldest son whose actions dismantled a media empire. But recently, a new name from the Duggar lineage has entered the legal system's crosshairs. As Joseph Duggar faces his own mounting legal pressures, the world is asking one question: what does the man in cell block A think about his brother joining him? Tonight, we go inside the wire. We examine the leaked reports, the visitation logs, and the chilling psychological reality of a family legacy under siege. Is this a moment of brotherly solidarity, or is the Duggar golden boy finally feeling the weight of his own isolation? Stay tuned, because the reality is darker than any headline suggests. To understand Josh's reaction, we must first understand his current reality. Serving a decade-long sentence at FCI Seagoville, Josh is no longer the golden boy of Tontitown. He is inmate number 42501-509. The U.S. District Court for the Western District of Arkansas didn't just sentence a man, they sentenced a brand. When Judge Timothy L. Brooks handed down that 151-month sentence, the ripples were felt across every Duggar household. For Josh, prison isn't just about the loss of freedom, it's about the loss of control. Sources close to the family, and frequent discussions on platforms like Anna Duggar's Snark, suggest that Josh's ego was always his defining trait. In prison, that ego has had to adapt. Reports indicate he spent his first year in a state of defiant optimism, constantly filing appeals that the court eventually swatted away. But what happens when that optimism meets the reality of another brother facing the law? We're looking at the specific legal documents that link the brothers' current situations. Joseph has long been considered the quiet one. While Josh was the face of the family's political ambitions, Joseph was the laborer, the husband, and seemingly, the one who followed the rules. As news broke of Joseph's recent legal entanglements, ranging from property disputes to deeper investigations into the family's business dealings, the narrative shifted. Community reactions on Facebook and YouTube have been swift. One top L. It's like a domino effect. Once the first one fell, the rest of the foundation started cracking. Recall the Counting On episode where Joseph married Kendra. The emphasis was on building a new legacy. Today, that legacy is being tested by the same legal system that claimed his brother. How does Josh even know? Contrary to popular belief, federal inmates are acutely aware of the outside world. Through TRULINCS, the inmate email system, and monitored phone calls to Anna Duggar, Josh remains a shadow participant in family affairs. Insiders suggest Josh's reaction isn't one of sympathy, but of strategic concern. If the Duggar name continues to be dragged through the courts, his own chances of a future redemption arc or a successful final appeal dwindle. In 10 minutes, we reveal the specific statement allegedly made by an inmate regarding Josh's mood shift after the latest news reached the prison yard. Anna Duggar remains the bridge. Her loyalty has been the subject of thousands of Reddit threads. But with Joseph, someone she likely viewed as a safe family member, now facing his own legal scrutiny, her world is shrinking. During the trial, the prosecution noted that the family circles the wagons. We are seeing that again. But circling the wagons becomes much harder when the wagons are in different courtrooms. The court of public opinion is often harsher than a federal judge. YouTube commenter at Truthseeker: Josh probably feels vindicated. That he isn't the only bad one anymore. Reddit analysis. Users have pointed out that the Duggars' IBLP upbringing created a culture where legal issues are seen as spiritual attacks, rather than consequences of actions. Continuity callback. Think back to the 2015 scandals. The family survived by staying silent. But in 2026, the digital footprint is too large to ignore. What does this mean for the Duggar empire? It's a slow-motion collapse. With Josh behind bars and Joseph navigating the legal maze, the brand is no longer about faith, it's about a fight for survival. The long-term implication is the total fracturing of the sibling bonds. Reports suggest that Jim Bob Duggar is struggling to fund multiple legal battles simultaneously. If the patriarch's resources dry up, the loyalty of the brothers might dry up with it. Josh Duggar sits in a cell, waiting for a clock that moves too slowly. His brother Joseph sits in a boardroom, waiting for a clock that moves too fast. They are two sides of the same coin, a coin that has finally lost its value in the eyes of the public. Josh isn't speaking out through a press release, he's speaking through his silence, a silence that says the Duggar dynasty is finally reaching its end credits. Let's deep dive in full details. A family once built on image, order, and unwavering belief, now defined by silence. For years, the Duggar name was synonymous with structure, discipline, faith, and for millions of viewers, a kind of curiosity about a life so different from their own. But today, that same name carries a different weight. A federal conviction, a prison sentence, and a question that still lingers in the public mind. What happens to a family when the image it built begins to crack from within? This is not just a story about one man. It is a story about legacy, loyalty, and what remains when everything else falls apart. Before the headlines, there was the brand. The Duggar family rose to national prominence through reality television, beginning with specials that would later evolve into the series 19 Kids and Counting. At the center were Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, presenting a lifestyle rooted in conservative Christian values, strict family roles, and a commitment to raising their 19 children under a shared belief system. Josh Duggar, the eldest son, was positioned early on as a central figure. He was the first to marry, the first to start a family of his own, and for a time, he was seen as an example of how the Duggar model extended into adulthood. But even during the height of their success, controversy was never far behind. In 2015, reports surfaced detailing past misconduct involving Josh Duggar during his teenage years. The revelations led to the cancellation of 19 Kids and Counting. In a statement at the time, the Duggar family described the actions as inexcusable, while also emphasizing forgiveness and faith. The public response was immediate and divided. Some viewers remained supportive. Others began to question the foundation of the image they had been shown. Years later, a far more serious chapter would begin. In April 2021, Josh Duggar was arrested by federal authorities. He was charged with receipt of child sexual abuse material, possession of child sexual abuse material. According to court documents, investigators alleged that illegal material had been downloaded to a computer at Duggar's workplace. Josh Duggar pleaded not guilty. The case moved to trial in late 2021. During proceedings, Prosecutors presented digital forensic evidence, including internet activity logs and expert testimony. The defense argued that others had access to the computer and raised questions about reasonable doubt. After deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict on both counts. In May 2022, Josh Duggar was sentenced to 151 months in federal prison, followed by supervised release. The judge described the material involved as among the most serious seen in such cases. This moment marked a definitive turning point, not only for Josh Duggar, but for the Duggar family as a whole. Following the conviction, the Duggar family released a brief public statement. They said they were heartbroken, and acknowledged that no words can express the deep sadness they felt. Beyond that, silence. No detailed interviews. No extended public appearances addressing the case directly. For a family once defined by openness on television, the absence of commentary became its own form of communication. Some family members distanced themselves more visibly. Jill Duggar Dillard, for example, had already begun separating from the family's media structure years earlier. After the trial, she and her husband expressed gratitude for the legal process and the verdict. Others remained largely out of the spotlight. And Josh Duggar's wife, Anna Duggar, stood by him throughout the trial, attending court sessions and maintaining public support. The family, once united on-screen, now appeared fragmented, at least from the outside. In the absence of detailed statements, speculation filled the gap. Online communities began asking questions. What do the Duggar siblings really think? How do they reconcile family loyalty with public accountability? And perhaps most persistently, has Josh Duggar expressed any remorse? To date, there are no verified public statements from Josh Duggar after sentencing beyond legal proceedings and filings. Any claims about his private reactions remain unconfirmed. This hasn't stopped speculation, but it's important to draw a line between documented fact and public imagination. What we do know is this. Federal prison communication is limited. Statements made publicly typically come through attorneys or official channels. And in this case, those channels have remained largely quiet. While the family stayed silent, the public did not. On platforms like Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube, discussions continue to unfold. Some viewers express sympathy for the Duggar children, particularly those who grew up on television. Others focus on accountability, arguing that the case reflects deeper systemic issues within the family's belief structure. A recurring sentiment across forums. This isn't just about one person. It's about what was allowed, ignored, or hidden. Others push back on that narrative, emphasizing that responsibility lies with the individual, not the entire family. The divide is clear, and it mirrors the broader cultural conversation around public figures, accountability, and the role of family systems in shaping behavior. The Duggar brand, once a cornerstone of reality television, has effectively dissolved. Counting On, the spin-off series, was cancelled shortly after Josh Duggar's arrest. Media partnerships ended, public appearances diminished, but the deeper impact may not be measured in ratings or contracts. It may be measured in something less visible: trust. For years, the Duggar family presented a carefully curated image, one built on values, consistency, and moral clarity. The events surrounding Josh Duggar challenge that image in a fundamental way. And for many viewers, the question is no longer about what was shown on screen. But what was not? In the end, this story resists a simple conclusion. There is no final statement that resolves the tension between public image and private reality. No single answer to the question of how a family moves forward after something like this. What remains are fragments. A once famous household. A conviction that changed everything. And a silence that continues to speak louder than words. For some, it is a story of accountability. For others, a story of loss. And for many, it is a reminder that behind every public image, there are truths we may never fully understand. The Duggar story is no longer about a television show. It is about what happens after the cameras stop rolling. And what remains, when there is nothing left to perform. Is Joseph's legal situation a coincidence, or a symptom of a deeper family issue? Tell us your theories in the comments below. We read every single one. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as we continue to track every legal filing in this developing story. This is 2S Gossip, signing off.